The dragon is the largest of all serpents and of all living creatures on the earth. Frequently, it rushes from caves into the air, and the air is disturbed by it. It is crested and has a small mouth with a narrow opening through which it draws its breath and thrusts out its tongue. It has no venom, but does not need it to cause death, because it kills whatever it has entangled in its coils. Even the elephant is not safe from the dragon, for it kills them through suffocation. It grows in Ethiopia and India, in the burning of perpetual heat. Isidore of Seville, writing here in the 7th century, isn't writing of a dragon which he thought was debatable, totally fabricated or mythical in some way. He's writing of a real, natural dragon, which he believed existed in his time. Isidore, of course, had never seen such a dragon. But Isidore had probably also never seen an elephant. Elephants were detailed in classical texts, first-hand accounts told of them, and historical events were influenced and explained in some way by the behaviour of elephants. The same was true for dragons. Writers spoke of 120-foot serpents which lived somewhere in the world, and which had to be slain for ordinary life to continue. That Isidore hadn't seen them could only reflect a lack of personal experience. There was no way to conclude that the titanic elephant was real, but that the dragon, which appeared in just as many written accounts and oral testimonies, was fictional. Further, people associated weather or cosmological events with dragons, which, unlike the dragon itself, could be seen in the world. Plenty of people could see murky waters, or wildfires, or meteors, and claim to come very close to seeing a dragon. Dragons were, for all intents and purposes, real. Throughout human history, there have been a lot of dragons of various kinds. Cosmic dragons, mythological dragons, biblical dragons, which are separated in some way from direct human experience. This video isn't about those dragons. This video is about the natural dragon, the ones which existed in nature and which could be found as real-life beasts. Through this, we'll ask and answer one simple question. What was the real medieval dragon? The dragon varies from place to place, and Isidore's dragon is what we're going to call the classical dragon. It's heavily informed by classical accounts of what dragons are, and where they live. Isidore tells us about this dragon in a wider book which details known animals all over the earth. It is a subcategory of serpent, and it is listed with over 30 others about which few details are given. The classical dragon is the largest animal on earth. It can rush into the air, it has no venom, it kills by strangulation, and it lives far away in hot places at the edges of the known world. We're told these details as they differentiate the dragon the most from other types of serpent. Its other physical attributes are left a mystery. Isidore's idea of a serpent includes both millipedes and several types of lizard, so it's possible that the dragon had legs. It's also possible that it had wings. Isidore states that the dragon can rush into the air, and though wings aren't stated explicitly, they're not without precedent. Herodotus, writing in classical antiquity, says that he was heading to Arabia to inquire about winged serpents. When I was there, I saw bones of serpents and spines in quantity so great that it is impossible to make report of their number. And there were heaps of spines, some heaps large and others less large, and others smaller still than these. And these heaps were many in number. The story goes that at the beginning of spring, winged serpents from Arabia fly towards Egypt, and ibises meet them and kill them. On account of this deed, say the Arabians, the ibis is greatly honoured by the Egyptians. We can't be certain if these winged serpents are dragons, but this shows us that serpents can have wings, so it's entirely possible that Isidore's classical dragon was understood to have wings. So what of other types of dragon? In another section, Herodotus states that the northern parts of Europe are very much richer in gold than any other region. But how it is procured, I have no certain knowledge. The story runs that the one-eyed Arimaspi steal it from the griffins. In classical antiquity, there were thought to be gold-guarding griffins in northern Europe. The idea likely stems from a now lost poem, and perpetuated effectively enough to be written by Isidore, who said that griffins lived in the Hyperborean mountains, and that they tear humans apart when they see them. At face value, tales of gold-guarding griffins are irrelevant to us when we're looking for dragons. But to the classical world, Northern Europe was very distant and rarely heard from. Tales were very, very rarely first-hand, and often embellished. There is a temptation, with tenuous evidence, to see the gold-guarding griffin as the classical world's syncretism of the Germanic dragon. The Germanic dragon is a different beast to its classical counterpart. It evolved in Northern Europe, where Germanic languages were spoken, but we have no pure account of it, as it was only ever written about by informed Christians, people who were well aware of the classical dragon. In Old English, these dragons are known as worms, and in Old Norse as ormar, but both written accounts interchange these words with the Latin loanwords, drakar in Old English and dreki in Old Norse. This shows the influence that Latin clerical culture was having on the Germanic dragon. The Germanic dragon is different to its classical counterpart, and so the sources which detail it and how we use them must also be different. We need to use several sources. We must rely on poetry as much as we do on prose, because anything other than a passing mention of the Germanic dragon is rare. This means that the Germanic dragon is in some ways more fanciful than the classical dragon, but its mentions must also be realistic for us. We'll begin with the Old English poem Maxims II. In 2 half lines, it gives us a good starting point for the Germanic dragon. It tells us that the dragon must be in its grave mound, old and wise, proud of its treasure. The Marvels of the East, written in prose, tells us of their size. In the distant east, there are dragons that are 150 feet in length. They are as great as large stone columns. Because of the size of the dragons, no man may travel far in that land. We're told how it inhibits travel in a letter purported to have been sent from Alexander to Aristotle. Alexander's men are under attack from the Wormkun, or race of dragons, who were of wondrous size. They were as large as stone columns. They came from the nearby hill. When they breathed, out of their mouths came breath like a burning torch. The breath and breathing of the dragons was deadly and poisonous, and because of their pestilential breath, many men died. The most contentious inclusion of the real Germanic dragons is that described in the poem Beowulf. Beowulf is a work of literature, but the source corroborates with our other sources in many ways. It is, unlike the shape-shifting supernatural Fafnir, just a natural serpent-like beast with earthly limitations. We're told explicitly that it is 50 feet long and 300 years old. It breathes fire, has sharp teeth which are poisonous, and can fly. It lives in a barrow on top of a cliff, where it guards gold. First, the features that the Germanic dragon shares with classical dragons. Both are large serpents, and we're not sure if either has legs or wings, but we know that both can fly. And both have been placed in the distant east. We can hypothesize, but we'll never know if these dragons' features are commonality between the two, or if the ideas of the classical dragon were appropriated into the Germanic dragon. The Germanic dragon also has a lot of features which are its own. It lives in a burial mound or hill with a vast hoard of treasure, which it will protect to its death. It lives for a long time, and contrary to Isidore's writing, it is poisonous. Either its breath or its bite are able to kill. It can breathe fire, which could be interpreted in both Beowulf and Alexander's letter, strangely, as poisonous. They are also compared numerous times to stone, being compared to stone columns, and, in Beowulf, being equated closely to its stone mound. Finally, these dragons are hostile to humans, killing them on sight, and when they come too close to their home. As the medieval period progressed, and Christianity's grip on Northern Europe was strengthened, the Germanic dragon was written about less and less. Gone was the beast's ability to breathe fire, replaced instead with Christian religious meaning. The role that the dragon played in society was changing. Saint Marcel was the 9th bishop of Paris in around the 4th century, when, on the outskirts of Paris, a tomb had been commandeered by a dragon. The body buried inside the tomb was swallowed whole. The dragon was huge, and it whipped the air with its tail to repel people. Marcel assembled the citizens and said a prayer before the dragon's home. Then he struck the dragon 3 times on the head with his episcopal crosier. The dragon then ran away. That this dragon commandeers a burial site and is openly hostile to people is some evidence of the influence of the Germanic dragon. But again, like the classical dragon, it's a non-poisonous constrictor, attacking mostly with its tail. This story is an interesting example, showing a key stage in the evolution of the dragon, where popular pagan culture was fading, but the Christian cultural system had not yet taken root. Jacques Le Goff has argued that this story is an example of clerical culture attempting to influence popular culture. The appearance of Marcel's dragon is an allegory for Marcel ridding Paris of paganism and allowing pagans to live, but converting them or forcing them into social exile. Isidore's account is not immune from this Christian appropriation of the dragon. We know that he writes an informative account, but he still uses it to clarify that the dragon lives in perpetual heat in Ethiopia and India, and in doing so, associating the dragon with the fires of hell, as it is depicted in the Bible. Isidore's writing also went on to inform high and later medieval bestiaries, books which were made to inform about all kinds of animals, detailing what they are, where they live, and most importantly, using that mostly fictional information to create an allegory that connected everything in nature to the Christian God that created it. We're told in bestiaries of the venomous dragon in India, and its tendency to hide by the side of the road, catching elephants and killing them by suffocation. This dragon is identical to Isidore's. Some of these bestiaries came with detailed drawings, showing us a dragon which is varied in people's imaginations, but which is always a serpent-like beast. Bestiaries continue, mentioning that dragons fear the panther and its sweet breath. This is confusing, but then we're told explicitly what it means. The elephants, panthers and dragons that the medieval world believed existed in nature represented humans, Jesus and the devil respectively. The venomous dragon is the devil, who lacks physical strength, but deceives people with his words instead. He waits in ambush along the road to heaven to ambush and trap humans. But the panther represents Jesus, whose sweet breath can bring mankind salvation and make the devil flee. The dragon was thought to be a natural beast which existed somewhere in the world, but it mattered less if what was said about it was factual. It was less a natural beast to be found and more a clerical tool, used to show how God was visible in the world, and also to warn of the devil and how he deceives humans away from the righteous path. When we look back at the past, we want to see the dragon as a symbol that we can interpret, a mythological character, or a representative of society's fears, or a metaphor for an army or for disease. We can do that, and it does make sense, revealing a lot about what a society values and what it derides. But it's also important to know that this isn't an effort to which people went at the time. To those talking of dragons, they can just as easily be real threats that must be dealt with, or beasts which are thought to exist out in the world. Sometimes a dragon is just a dragon, a real natural beast which was thought to pose a natural threat, just like any other animal. Thanks for watching. This video is part of the Serpent Series, a collaboration of videos teaching you about mythological serpents throughout human history. If you want to learn more about mythological serpents, then click the playlist on the left and check out the links in the pinned comment. If you want to see more of me, then check out the playlist on the right, and like this video and subscribe, because it lets me know what you want to see me make in the future. Again, thank you.